Now that the housekeeping's out of the way, welcome again to our third of the QA Essentials webinar series. I'm Andrea Zens. I'm one of our product managers here at Standard Imaging, responsible for several product portfolios, including our QA management platform, which is QA Pilot, and we'll be covering that today, as well as QA StereoChecker for daily CyberKnife QA. I'm here together with my colleague Hugh Petersen, who is also a product manager, and he has a large product portfolio, which includes a good portion of our daily QA solutions, namely BeamChecker Plus, Mimi, and HexaCheck. Hugh and I have worked together for over 17 years, have collaborated as part of the sales team and now as part of the product management team. So it's exciting that we get to have a conversation today to bring you into our daily QA solution world. So in order to get on to that, today's topic is daily QA. Hugh, and you again are the product manager for a good chunk of that portfolio, can you tell us more about the daily tasks that need to be done before a patient can be treated in the morning?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Hugh Petersen, as Andrea had mentioned. Today, like we said, we're going to kind of be running through some of the QA essentials for daily QA. And basically, we kind of track along our TG142 protocol from the APM. And there's three different tables of recommended tests for daily QA, and that table one is the daily the dosimetry, I should say, and then also covers some of the mechanical and the safety checks, just to kind of get things going in the morning. You know, we kind of refer to it as a morning warm up, if you will, where we check the output of the machine for flatness, symmetry, constancy. We also do some mechanical checks and some safety checks that would include the vault door open and close, the interlocks for that, the audio-visual systems in the vaults, you know, your camera and your microphone, laser alignment, your radiation alert monitors, things like that. So that's all kind of included in table one. Table four is kind of a virtual wedge check where you can do a dynamic test of the system and do a run out one angle for a specific wedge. You know, sometimes facilities will do different angle wedges on different days to be able to make sure that they can kind of track all those. And then the last one, table 6, is the imaging portion of it. And this is not necessarily a image quality test. Those are typically done monthly. These are more mechanical, your couch collision interlocks and your MV and KV imager geometries and perpendicularities alignment to those. So that's kind of what is covered for the essentials for daily QA. And it's kind of a lot of data to collect, and you know, I'm just kind of, you know, you have to record it, you have to keep track of it. So I'm going to check with Andrea. Do we offer anything to make tracking all this data, you know, kind of faster and easier for the physicists to take some of the things off their plate, if you will?
It's a great question, and it's a question we know physicists are continually asking as they are asked to do more with less, it seems, continually. Our answer for that, of course, is QA Pilot with PIPS Pro Autopilot, should you choose to add that on, which is image-based tests. So what is QA Pilot? It is a full software as a service. So there's not a big investment in a software package that you then have annual maintenance. You're basically just paying the annual maintenance each year. And it is definitely the consolidation and management of machine QA and other physics-related tasks, independent of Linac manufacturer and QA vendors. So some people will tell you that they are vendor neutral, but that really stops at the level of we support Elekta and Varian Linacs. Here we support also Proton, CyberKnife, your HDR rooms, your CT rooms, which is really important. And although I am an absolute firm believer that we make the best of quality assurance tools. We also understand that people who don't have an SI solution are still looking to gain efficiencies and really consolidate and customize their QA across sites and machines. And we're ready to meet you where you are, no matter what you're using, and get you going on gaining those efficiencies. So at the heart of QA Pilot is really a database with scheduling and customization tools that really help organizations not only standardize across sites and machines, but customize to the individual workflow, whether that be, I've got an Electa and I've got a Variant, they've got different accessories, then you customize the workflow per the machine. Or, at this site we have HDR, but this one we don't. Again, you get to customize. So you're only seeing, each person that logs in is only seeing what is applicable to them and what they are assigned to. So that really is what we offer with QA Pilot.
Okay, can you touch on the workflow a little bit with a little bit of detail there?
Sure, that sounds like a good plan because there's a lot. So this is a high level touch on this. There's really a lot of good things that you can do with QA Pilot, but we'll just cover sort of, okay, we've got a daily workflow. So where do we start? First of all, it really is important to note that all of the TD 142 tests listed in the tables 1 through 6 are already built into the software product. As well as a myriad of other QA tests. But we'll start with that. And since those are all built into the software, we also then offer you a variety of preset templates, as you see here on the left, which really is the QA schedules, which can be, these preset templates can be copied and assigned to a particular QA schedule, which is this top menu item that users will be looking at every day for sure, by different sites, by individual Linux, and they are the set of tests that are used on a daily basis, or the set of tests which are recommended to be monthly or annual. So the menu is really organized in the things that you do most frequently. So you're going to perform your QA schedules, you're going to review your QA data, you're going to want to look at reports and perhaps documents. So that is really helpful. And again, if you're a therapist in the morning, you're going to come in and look at the thing that is assigned to you. So I'm going to log in as a therapist. I'm going to see my TG142 daily over here, and I'm going to click on that test and automatically start from the dashboard to be able to perform my QA. From that dashboard, you can also view trending and view reports. So once the therapist is done with their QA for the day, they simply save it. And then the physicist will come in and they will likely start their day by looking at the review page. And over here on the right, sorry, I'm looking away from you over here to look at my other monitor. These are the items that are contained within the review page. And again, you're going to see what is assigned, that you are assigned to, that you're responsible for. So as a physicist, I'm going to look at the QA reports, so the schedules that have been completed or are in progress. It'll be noted whether there have been any comments made on any tests and whether there was an alert or warning on, error on any of those. And you can do an electronic sign-off. We also see on this nice review page anything associated with machine logs. Machine logs can mean, is my treatment machine actually down? But it could also be a way of tracking your Linux accessories, your IT server, if it's running, or be informed that an update is scheduled, or those types of things. Very, very nice to keep everyone informed of what equipment is functioning and so on, or what's coming up, what's due in the department. Equipment, of course, exactly like it says, is related to actual QA devices. Do I have an ion chamber or electrometer recalibration due? It shows up in red if it's overdue, which of course, again, is one of those visual cues that is letting the physicist know this is a high priority, it is overdue, what steps need to be taken to rectify that situation. And then not only do we have equipment specific tasks, but there are also two other types of tasks. Tasks which are assigned to me as an individual, or tasks that I've assigned to other, that I've created and assigned to other people. So again, you get that dashboard overview to quickly see where things stand throughout the department that you are related or responsible for taking care of. So that's a quick overview. There's a lot more in the software, as you can see from the menu. If you want to know more, you can reach out to us and we'll schedule an actual demo for you. But now I'd like to get back to our essential daily tasks. So Hugh, what can you tell us a bit more about the essential tasks?
Yeah, so I kind of mentioned our table one, which basically, again, kind of covers the morning dosimetry check, the LINAC output, things like that. And again, some of the mechanical checks and the safety. I'm going to kind of key in on our, specifically the BeamChecker Plus for QA. It's a simple, fast, reliable daily QA device. It's a quick check for static beams for constancy, symmetry, and flatness. It's an ion chamber-based array with 8 parallel plate chambers. There are 3 chambers for energy detection, which I'll talk about in a minute, but it's a water equivalent housing for both photons and electrons. It measures the full ranges of beam energies from cobalt up to 25 MeV for photons and 6 to 25 MeV for electrons. You can have up to 9 different devices, or different rooms, I should say, on one device. And you have the ability to track and trend and generate reports very easily. And then there's an included power cradle for recharging the system, as well as transferring your data, save data. It'll save up to 30 days worth of data on the device that can be uploaded for your tracking, trending, and reporting. But one nice feature of it is that you set up your baseline very easily. We've got something that's called automatic energy detection for the unit as well, which gives it the ability to kind of learn as far as what energy.
So Hugh,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm interrupting
No,
you,
that's
but
fine.
woman with a million questions, I gotta ask them.
Sure.
So what allows people to use the QA BeamChecker Plus independent of software? Because I think I hear that a lot about the device, but tell me more what that means, that automatic energy detection.
Yeah, so basically, we've got 3, I mentioned there are 8 chambers, and there's 3 of those chambers are used for that, it's patented automatic energy detection. There's different amounts of buildup on those 3 chambers. So basically, when you baseline the unit, you deliver your 6x beam or your 10x beam or your electron beams, whatever, and the unit essentially learns the characteristics of those various beams. So then once a baseline is set with, say, a 6x beam, your 6 MeV, you can deliver that 6 MeV beam to the device. The device will recognize that beam automatically and then report the metrics for that specific beam. So it's a nice situation where it's kind of, for lack of better terms, foolproof. I know some of the other systems out there, you have to do a set routine, you've got to do a set order, you've got to do a specific sequence of deliveries. With ours, in the mornings, kind of before that first cup of coffee, you might set up for your 6 MeV beam, jump to your 18 MeV beam, and I forgot to do my 10. You can go back and do your 10. So knowing that it learned those characteristics of the specific beams, you don't need to do it in any set order. And the nice thing too is it automatically resets. So when you have you deliver one beam, and if you'll see the readout there where it says RDY, if there's any kind of issue, be it flatness, constancy, or symmetry, it will indicate that there. Let you know that there was an issue, but if everything was fine and your beam is good and passed all the tests, it'll automatically reset and give you that RDY. So you deliver your 6, everything's fine. A couple seconds later, you get the RDI notification on the BeamChecker. You can deliver your next beam, and so on. So it's a nice kind of foolproof method to set those morning checks up.
Sounds like
So
something that the therapist probably really appreciate. I've heard therapists complain about, oh, the simple fact that I pushed the wrong energy means the physicist knows that, it's not really a problem, but then they get an alert and that
right.
makes me not necessarily look great. So don't want to make that happen. So very, very therapist friendly unit from what I understand.
Yep, most definitely. We've had people call it the therapist's best friend. It's interesting that they would refer to a QA device like that, but they have. So, but now we kind of got once we get that data, because the data will be stored in the unit up to 30 days worth, and you can then upload that information to the PC. But then, once we have that data, how does it get into QA pilot, Andrea? What does that kind of look like? Maybe you can kind of go over that.
Sure. That's a great question. So that data cradle is, where you would put it on to recharge, but it's also the data cradle because we have the transfer of data. So what QA Pilot has is what we call the equipment hub. It's a small application running in the background, and it's a listener for new data. As it sees data, you can set up things in various ways. More or a bit less automated, but still very automated, to get that data into QA Pilot. So what do I mean by that? So here we're in a daily QA schedule, we're getting ready to perform it. There is a get results button. So this is set up when we do equipment management. We tell the equipment hub that this is the path to the data from this piece of equipment that we're using every morning, and it'll see the new data, and you click on get data and it'll bring it in. But you can alternatively set up the device again in the equipment management to say, pull the, open when the QA schedule is opened and a person's starting to perform QA, these fields are empty, automatically go grab it and populate those. So you can be totally automated that way, or you can click on a little button to make that happen. And so that is how you would bring in the data from the BeamChecker. And then what does that actually look like? Well, here is the data brought into the device. It's color coded. We use the stoplight colors, as most software does these days. Green passes, yellow is a warning, and red is an error. The nice thing about QA Pilot, which is a differentiator from things I've seen on the market, is by clicking on a data point will actually bring you in automatically to that longitudinal data. So as data is brought into QA schedules and QA Pilot, it is automatically saved and automatically trended. So like I said, you can access it from a dashboard, the schedule dashboard. You can also access it from an analytics dashboard. You can also access it by being in a report, seeing that there's a data, and that will automatically bring you to that longitudinal data, which I think is pretty fantastic. You don't have to build your trending report every time you want to look at data. So that I think is the thing I wanted to highlight there. As for the mechanical and safety tests, those are usually functional tests, which means that they're physically, I need to close my door and open it. I need to, see the beam on light. I need to see the radiation monitor, which means for QA Pilot, again, those tests are built in, but they're usually like a pass-fail test, or they're a data entry point for those types of mechanical and safety checks.
Sounds
So
good.
let's see. And again, this is just a reminder, this is all cloud-based, so it's an electronic version of your current hard copy daily checklist, or the variety of spreadsheets that physicists tend to have that maintain their data logs in the history. That is replaced with QA Pilot. It's all automatically saved and backed up and all those good things to the cloud. So let's see, Hugh, back for you a little bit. So we talked about the automatic pass-fail mode and static measurement. Is there anything else that you can do with BeamChecker?
Yeah, so basically, like you said, we talked about the static beams, but yeah, also we have table 4 in the TG142, which talks about the wedge runouts and dynamic measurements. So for those virtual wedges, so we can certainly do that. We can perform custom tests as well for Rapid Arc, for VMAT, and an enhanced dynamic wedge, as I mentioned. Basically. Um, Different from the static measurements, you actually take a CT study of the device and the chamber array on the device. You bring that into the treatment planning system. You basically build a plan around those chambers, deliver that plan. That becomes your baseline, and then on a daily basis, you then can deliver that specific plan and get those specific results as well. So you get output constancy for all the chambers on the unit.
Great. So that sounds great, and that's still traditional electivarian C-arm Linac. Can the BeamChecker be used on non-C-arm Linacs?
Yeah, so we also have some specific tests that we've built in and developed for tomotherapy and RadExact specific daily QA. We can do static field measurements in the Tomo Direct mode for output, for energy, and for lateral profiles running across the beam. Very similarly to we do with the dynamic, where we actually build a plan to the device within the tomotherapy treatment planning system, and then we deliver that for the baseline, and then the subsequent tests after that are compared back to that baseline, both, like I mentioned, for the static Tomo Direct, but then also the dynamic as well. It's a combined dosimetric check for to that specific treatment plan for the dynamic. And then we also have capabilities. We have a leveling platform that can be acquired, and that allows you to level the unit, and then you can do a laser check on the Tomo system as well, or the RadExact system as well, to their
So is that
internal
the,
lasers.
from your lasers outside the room to the virtual sort of
Correct.
laser alignment within the bore? Is that what we're talking about?
Yep, exactly right.
Yep.
So
Got it.
you align them to the outer lasers and move them into the bore and check them against your internal lasers.
Got it. So that's a great overview of all the functionality there. But I bet our customers are wondering, our attendees today are wondering, what about that software? What does that look like?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, there is the baselining software, but with the component to the software, there's actually more to it as well. You know, the nice thing about the BeamChecker Plus again is that wire-free, software-free functionality on a daily basis. You do need to connect it to software to baseline, and that helps to kind of transfer the data information over to the device for knowing the characteristics of the beam for the automatic energy detection. But beyond that, we also have a couple of different things we can do with the device. We have a real-time operation. So if you do want to have it connected and actually see at the console what the readouts are and what the results are in real time and your actual percent differences, you can certainly do that with the real-time mode. We also have the data view, which gives you the ability to view the recorded saved data from the device as when it's uploaded to the software, both in a trend line view, as you can see there, or table view. And the table view is also color coded for pass, caution, and fail. But then we also have a third mode, which we call the physics mode. And this, for lack of better terms, I like to call it kind of a sandbox. It's something the physicists can kind of play around in and kind of set up their own tests. It basically gives you the ability to see the rate and the charge of the actual output of each chamber, as you can see there on the screen. And you can kind of see your flatness, your symmetry, both in axial and transverse, and kind of, gives you the ability to kind of, use it in a, experimental is not a necessarily, but maybe a research phase, or if you want to set up your own types of tests with the device, you can do that as well.
So if you're working in this physics mode, maybe troubleshooting an issue with the LINAC, for
Mhm.
example, does that end up impacting your trending statistics?
No, the work you do in the physics mode is completely separate from your daily measurements. So once you're in physics mode, you do get those results, and you can save those individually, and you can upload those to a separate CSV file, but they don't impact your daily measurements at all.
That's fantastic. It really is. It is a sandbox, like you said.
Hmm.
So I think we've covered sort of the daily dosimetry and sort of the table one of TG142. Let's chat a little bit now about is it table six?
Table
Imaging
six, yeah.
QA.
Hmm.
What tools would you recommend for that?
Okay, so so basically, like I said, the the imaging table in TG142 for the daily component is not your image base. It's not image quality. That's a monthly test that you can test with something like our PIPS Pro software to get an actual track and trend and see your image quality. These are the table six tests are more of your mechanical tests, if you will, or you're testing your imager collision interlocks. You're testing the geometry and positional accuracies of your imaging system. Say your perpendicularity of your KV imager to your MV imager, things like that. So you can do your 2D 2D matching for the planar imaging systems. You can do your 3D 3D matching for your cone beam imaging system. So it gives you a lot of functionality that way with the system.
Got it. And just to pop in here and comment a little bit on what does this mean in QA pilot? Like we talked about, a lot of these functional tests are simple pass fail, and again built into the software. And for your offsets that you after you've done your positioning repositioning test, what your daily offset is recorded here by simply entering the data here versus into an Excel spreadsheet or some kind
Mhm.
of hard copy report that you're working on.
Yeah, and just
So,
kind of few quick points on the physicality of the Phantom.
oh,
Some
sure.
we haven't kind of touched on that yet, but you can kind of see a cutaway view of the Phantom, and you'll see there's five bone equivalent rods that go through the Phantom at horizontally, but also at 90-degree angles. And so you can kind of test your verification of your imager positioning to those rods. And the nice thing about it is if you're doing a cone beam image set of your Phantom, you don't have to hunt for image or for targets within the Phantom. Those rods show up just about at every slice across the Phantom. So no matter where you are on the Phantom, you'll have targets to key in on. So that's a nice thing to save time and make it a little easier to use overall than having to look for internal targets that you can't necessarily see. Um,
Anything making life faster and easier in the morning, I'm sure the therapists and physicists really do appreciate.
yep,
Um, I've,
definitely.
I've, I've had, customer feedback over the years when I was in sales, especially saying that they really like the unique geometry of those bone rods and how sharp an image it creates, no matter whether it's KV or MV,
Hmm.
which really, really helps them with doing that alignment and that unique geometry.
Yep,
So,
definitely.
so as I've shown here with QA Pilot, we've got the vertical longitude latitude offsets. That's 3D couch QA. What happens if I've got a 6 degree of freedom couch?
So we've got a solution for that as well. It's actually an accessory for the Mimi Phantom, and you can see here it's called the HexaCheck, and basically it's a support device that the Mimi Phantom slips into. It just sets into it, and it allows you to take that Mimi and kind of give it some angular offsets at 2.5 degrees plus or minus. In the pitch, roll, and yaw. So incur specific known angles to that angular, easy for me to say, angular offsets, and introduce those angular errors to the phantom, and then use your Linux, your couch software to bring those back to level, and check on the accuracies of the repositioning of those of that phantom back to level using the couch
Yeah, and
itself.
as I
So
understand it, because I've played with the HexaCheck somewhat, it's a hard stop, so it's not a guesswork kind of thing. And the way we have the sort of knobs, if you will,
mhm.
really do lock that into position.
Yep.
Um, can you tell me a little bit more about, what happens to ISO center when you're doing a shift?
Yeah, so basically, it's nice advantage to the the Mimi and Hexacheck combination is that with the Mimi sitting in there, there is a ball marker at the center of the phantom, to indicate, when you have it lined up correctly, indicate ISO center with the phantom. And the Hexacheck actually has a very unique gimbal system that allows you to rotate to those different angles, pitch, roll, and yaw, but it always maintains that center position at ISO center. So it's a much more accurate setup for doing your couch position and your imager QA for the Mimi Phantom.
So it seems to me that not losing your ISO center is extremely valuable, probably a significant time saver
Mhm.
for people using it. How does that compare to some other products?
Yeah, most definitely. So a lot of the other systems out there just use an angular plate. So if they place the Phantom, there's Phantom that similar to what the Mimi Phantom is on that angular plate, it actually will lift the center of the Phantom, the isocenter, aligned to the isocenter. It will kind of misalign that to isocenter, so you won't have the ability to track isocenter like you can with the Mimi in that gimbal system, because it rotates, literally rotates around isocenter as you incur those different angles. So it makes it a much more practical and easier to use, because basically if to get incur different angles on that angular plate for what some of the competition uses, you need to rotate that plate 90 or 180 degrees, and that just moves that isocenter into different positions. So you can always, with the Mimi and the
Well,
Hexachecker, you always keep an eye on where that center of the Phantom is.
so and correct me if I'm wrong, if I have to literally shift my entire Phantom on this tilt plate, it means you have to re-image as well,
Hmm.
and in order to be able to verify those new shifts and do that matching. That
Correct.
does
Yeah,
not
because
sound very efficient.
yeah, it puts puts the Phantom in a different position each time. Where
Yeah.
this, with the Mimi and the Hexacheck, the Phantom stays in the correct position.
Yeah, and I think if again, the nice thing, the feedback I've heard from customers is that I can test my negative 250, 2.5 degrees and my positive in any of those pitch, yaw, roll directions. So
Right.
really, it's just that one setup. That sounds really good.
Yep. Exactly. That's exactly it. So yeah. So that was the Mimi and the Hexacheck for your table six. In addition to that, I know we've covered that, and we've covered the dosimetry thing. Something and that covers like tomotherapy and the rad exact and the dynamic and the static beams for daily QA. For other systems out there, I know Andrew, we've got the StereoChecker that kind of does some of the daily tests for CyberKnife. Can you maybe elaborate on that a little bit?
Right. So as you said, TG 130, I think it's TG 135 covers the CyberKnife machines. So our stereo checker is a daily QA device, but it's a very specific to CyberKnife QA for daily. It is an amorphous silicone detector, so high speed, high resolution, 0.2 millimeters. It's fantastic. It's basically a portable EPID panel. The nice thing about what we've done with stereo checker, especially the current version of the software, is that it is more automated than ever before, and it is truly integrated. You don't have to futz around with You know, I've got you don't have to futz around with multiple software programs in order to make it run. Let's put it that way. The nice thing about StereoChecker and the software is that we have 3 test modes. We have daily QA, which is specific to CyberKnife machines, with an iris batch, which means all 11 clinical collimators are QA'd in one test, a one QA plan. We also have a patented PANDA test. PANDA stands for position and delivery accuracy. So is my robot in the right place? Is it fiducial tracking correctly? It replaces and is an improvement upon Accuray's film-based AQA test. We also have the MLC garden fence test, which actually Accuray recommends as a monthly test. They have the picket fence as a daily test, but the picket fence and the garden fence test, they each take the same amount of time to basically deliver on a CyberKnife machine. The picket fence is a subjective, it's a qualitative test only. Take a look at my film. Does anything look out of place? Again, everybody's eyeballs are different, so what one person sees versus another, it's very, very subjective. Whereas the garden fence takes it to, they actually have 4 criteria. Accuray has 4 criteria that the leaves should be tested against. And given that this is a stereotactic machine, frankly, and as a person who has no brain cells to spare, knowing that your mechanics of your MLCs are working properly every day, takes 5 minutes, do it. Please, just do it. Then we have 2 other QA modes with StereoChecker, which are applicable both to CyberKnife and other radiation treatment machines, in the fact that you can get a single monthly QA is really single field analysis. You aren't limited to once a month. You can perform it as frequently as you want or need to. Single field analysis for CyberKnife fields up to basically 10 by 10, a little bit different because it's not exactly 10 by 10 with the MLCs. Or you can use it on, again, Linux or other radiation treatment devices for up to a 15 by 15 field. And again, that's flatness, symmetry, field width, and penumbra. Manual QA, since we have a high resolution detector, you want to get the most out of it that you can, so we offer manual QA, which really is the opportunity for a user to composite up to 10 images taken on the device and export those as a DICOM file for analysis elsewhere. So anytime you might need, you're troubleshooting or you're doing some research and you want to be able to get that really high resolution image as a DICOM file, that's available for you. The other things to really say about StereoChecker is we have great reporting. Every test metric is automatically saved. And so you can create longitudinal reports like, over time, how are things performing, or your individual QA session reports. And the other thing to note is it's one trip into the vault for one setup to run all the QA tests. That is a huge time saver for people, not having to go into the vault, and knowing that each test takes one QA plan, not multiple plans, is also an incredibly efficient way to get your QA done.
Yeah, no film and phantom setup is needed. You just place the device on the couch, huh?
Exactly.
Perfect. So what else? Can you just maybe do a quick overview of some of the workflow for the software for the device?
Sure. People always want to know what the software looks like. This is a view of the software. It really is as simple as selecting your test, click on the start button, and with that click of the start button and you've turned your beam on, you're going to get the image acquired. It's going to be calibrated and transferred over to the application that, the UI that the user's looking at. The results will be displayed along with the image. And all of those test metrics are automatically trended and viewable as graphs or in data tables. So couldn't be simpler if somebody tried. And again, it's not this test or that test we do a metric on and might have trending. It is every single test that's run is automatically saved image and the test metrics so that full trending and reporting is available to people.
Great. That sounds awesome. That was a good,
Yeah,
nice, nice. I was gonna say it
go
was a
ahead.
nice overview.
Yeah, okay, thanks. And again, if people want to know more specifically, we can take a look at that. Now, I'm going to take a minute. So any device with software for measuring dosimetric leaf gap for MLC, that would be PIPS QA Pilot with PIPS Pro Autopilot or our PIPS Pro software. That's correct, right, Hugh? PIPS Pro would the dosimetric
Yes.
leaf gap for MLCs?
Yeah, we have a leaf transmission test and component within the PIPS Pro software for doing interleaf and interbank leakage.
And then there's another question here. I'm shocked that I remembered to look. Any device with software for focal spot test of a KV X-ray tube on the Linac?
That we don't.
Just a KV imager QA?
Yeah, that's more specific to diagnostic test, and we don't really do any of the focal spot testing on that.
Okay, so it is something. So the nice thing about QA Pilot, I will say, is that you can set up rooms, like I said, for CT. If you've got an X-ray, we'd probably have to support you via custom tests for those things, but we do work with our customers to make sure that we're covering the things that they need and want if it's not already built in. And again, there are a lot of tests already built into QA Pilot. It is something that we would work with you to potentially look at more closely to make sure we're covering the tests that you need. So that's something we could investigate further with you if you would be interested in. I think that's it for questions that I see right now. Okay.
Okay, so I think.
Did I go too far? Yes, I did.
I was gonna say that kind of, with the overview of the software for the CyberKnife QA with the StereoChecker, that kind of brings us to the end. And basically, if there's any questions anybody has, you can enter those now. Otherwise, if you have questions after the fact, our email addresses are on screen right now, or you can jump right onto our website and you can send them directly to our group there, the sales group, and they'll kind of pass those on to us.